I'm very grateful today to welcome our next eminent guest, Sofia Strill Rever, whose skills are beyond expression. She is a spiritual teacher and a writer who promotes inner healing, peace, and universal responsibility. She has authored 3 books with Dalai Lama, including his memoir, My Spiritual Autobiography, in 2009. She is a graduate of Indian Studies from the University of Paris. She traveled to the United States, then to India, where she studied Kala Chakra with Tibetan masters. She received teachings from an Indian Pandit at the Central University of Tibetan Studies in Sarnath and from Tibetan Lama at Kirti Monastery in Dharamshala. In 2016, she co-wrote with Vakya Rinpoche The Meditation Saved Me, story of healing from gangrene of the foot through meditation and mantras. A specialist in mantra therapy, she gives recitals of sacred mantras. In 2017, she published Make the Revolution, the Dalai Lama's Appeal to Youth, translated into English under the title A Call for Revolution. A Vision for the Future, a manifesto by Dalai Lama on the future of the world. A call to put in place solutions for our chaotic and divided times. She is co-founder of Better We, Better World and initiated Be the Love You Want to See in the World. It echoes Mahatma Gandhi's Be the Change You Want to See in the World. She lectured at the United Nations in Geneva on universal responsibility in November 2017 and February 2020. So please welcome Sofia Strill Rever from France.
Most welcome, respected Sophia ji. We are so honored and inspired to see you with us. Whole stage is yours. We are eager to listen from you about spiritual activism, transforming the world through love and service. All yours.
Namaste, dear Dr. Vikranji, and welcome to the United Conscience community in India and abroad. Happy Peace Week to all. Thank you for inviting me to this online global celebration connecting the human family across the planet to declare peace. And I'd like to start by honoring our noble purpose with an invocation of the transcending principle that unites all the living. Om Bhurbuva Swaha Tat Savitu Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimai Yo Yonah Prachodayat. The Gayatri Mantra invokes the sun to illuminate our minds, praying that the divine light comes down and inspires us in the form of sun rays. And in the Gayatri Mantra, as in most spiritual traditions, the sun is associated with the spirit because it is in essence light. And when the spirit incarnates in the physical body, human or other than human, it radiates light, it manifests the divine. The word divine itself is derived from a Proto-Indo-European root dir, meaning to shine, which is found in Sanskrit in the word deva, literally the shining one, in Greek in the word delos, meaning luminous, or in Latin in deus, that gave Dieu in French. And the divine is light because light embodies an overarching principle that expresses the supreme, ultimate, and partless reality of the source, from which the world of dual multiplicity is born with its countless divisions. the quality of unity precedes the separation and differentiation of forms. We have all experienced the original state of unity, individually and collectively as a species, because we all derive from one single and same bacterium which appeared 4 billion years ago. It's called LUCA, an acronym for Last Universal Common Ancestor. And if we go back in time, we realize that there is a common cause for all the living. There is an original source, a single root. We are a part of the same basic unity, so that I am me and I am also you, you are you, and you are also me. Each of us is the whole of humanity and also all the other than human. We're not one person among 8 billion others. We are 8 billion others in one person. We are not a living person in all the living. We are all the living in one person. And what is this unifying energy at the origin of life? It is the energy of love, which is one at the beginning of the beginnings, before duality, before divisions. Love is the original memory of the luminous divine shining in ourselves and the world. It is the unitary origin, the fundamental cohesion of all that is. Life was born from the fullness of love, and love is the life of life. Love is primal, love is natural. From conception, we have been nourished by love. Baby's biological growth requires love. Recent research has proved, for instance, that the early development of the part of the brain behind the orbits of the eyes, called the orbitofrontal cortex, is wholly dependent upon the emotional warmth and the physical affective contact an infant receives during its 24th month. If there is insufficient emotional richness and stimulus, the growth gen shut down, and children deprived of love don't grow to their full genetic potential. So, having received love, one is biologically, emotionally, and cognitively trained to give love in return. Scientists have shown that empathy and compassion emerge early and universally in human development. Yet, empathy isn't immune to cognitive biases. We are more likely to empathize with others who are like us. And in areas with extreme conflict, people don't lack empathy. They just have very high empathy for their own group and zero empathy for the opposing group. Our attitudes incorporate cultural conditionings, and in particularly the we versus they mentality. We consist of the group with whom we identify. They refers to the others. So it's to be despicable because of different religion, country, ethnicity, social status, or political views. So how to correct such a mindset? For that, we need to experience oneness beyond secondary divisions. We need to experience the transcending unity invoked in the Gayatri Mantra. In this respect, the practice of love and compassion proves quite relevant. And the practice of love or love in action is service, called seva in Sanskrit. Seva literally means together with. So seva or selfless service is based on the sense of oneness and togetherness. Seva is an act of compassion and care for others. And the Bhagavad Gita, for instance, encourages selfless service as a way to develop spiritually by experiencing that in serving others, you are actually serving God. Now, regarding spiritual activism, In Gandhi's view, love is inseparable from the service to others. Acts of service are expression of love, and serving others with compassion and dedication is a way to live out love in action. Martin Luther King, who introduced Gandhian ahimsa in the civil rights movement's operating mode, used to insist again and again in his speeches and writings on the importance of service. He believed that the greatness comes from serving and helping our fellow human beings, consistently emphasizing the need for individuals to make a positive impact in their communities. You may remember his famous words: everyone has the power for greatness, because greatness is determined for service. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. And inspired by the legacy of Martin Luther King, in 1994, the US Congress enacted a Martin Luther King Day of Service, which calls on individuals to bridge divides and bring people of different minds together. Schools celebrate the national holiday as a day on, not a day off, and each year service projects are led on US campuses. It's very touching to hear today that Yolanda Renee King, teenage granddaughter of Martin Luther King, has written her first book at age 15, calling for a revolution of service. And she recently announced a 5-year project to celebrate her grandpa's 100th birthday, with the goal of obtaining 100 million hours of service by 2029. And I'd like to salute with you this laudable initiative focusing on service that Yolanda named Realizing the Dream. Love is linked to service because love isn't just an ideal, it's practical and it's transformative. The understanding of love as a collective force for social justice, world peace, and human evolution doesn't belong to classical Western philosophy. It has been extensively presented in the talks and the writings of the 20th century greatest spiritual activists of all times, the Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King. Their life illustrates the transformative power of love that historically succeeded in liberating India and ending apartheid. Both heroes fought exploitation and injustice, but their weapons always were nonviolent and moral ones. They were aware their adoption of peaceful methods made them superior and put their enemy at a disadvantage, but they kept treating their opponents with respect and love. Gandhi and Martin Luther King believed that only through love an enemy could be permanently won. The spiritual activism proves that love can be strategic and realistic while continuing to be love. Actually, global icons of love are the most pragmatic and realistic people I have ever met. When I am asked what's the greatest quality of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, I always mention his realism. His Holiness is realistic. Why? Because he is aligned with the reality of love and the reality of the fundamental goodness that we all share, but that we may fail to recognize in ourselves or others. And about His Holiness, I'd like to recall his answer to a journalist that deeply touched my heart. A journalist asked him about the ordeal of exile. As you know, His Holiness has been in exile for over 60 years now. And His Holiness replied that while missing, of course, his homeland, He feels at home wherever he can be of service to humanity. So I'd like to conclude by inviting all of us on this Peace Week to come back to our real home, our true home, the home of our heart, from where we can best love and best serve humanity. Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you very much, Sofia ji. When we were picking up the topic, we knew that nobody can do justice on the topic of love and service as you can do, because you have been living, preaching, traveling across the world to disseminate this feeling of love. And as you rightly mentioned that you started your talk with the Saraswati, with the Gayatri mantra, invoking the divine shine, that unity of source that connects us all. And then you started talking about how love is life of life. That was very profound. You also mentioned that we are 8 billion living in one person. It shows that the magnitude of love and the potential it has. You also said that life is born out of love. You validated it with lots of uh, experimental research based evidences. And once you receive love, then you said we are biologically, we are cognitively, emotionally feel charged to give love. And when we start giving love, then it is called empathy and compassion. Otherwise, we remain in that dichotomy of me versus them. You mentioned love in action is service. And you invoked Bhagavad Gita, that in serving others, we actually serve God. And you took examples of one of the biggest epitomes of service and love in the world, Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King, who are my role models also. And you also inspired us by mentioning what Martin Luther King's granddaughter is doing on having a resolution of serving, having 100 million hours of serving till 2029. We wish United Consciousness is always open to contribute in her pledge, because in her pledge is the pledge of humanity. And yes, United Consciousness as a complete organization has always been blessed by Honorable His Holiness the Dalai Lama. His talks, his blessings has always inspired us from day one till date. Still, we uphold the letters we received from His Holiness, very close to our heart. And whenever United Consciousness needs more inspiration, we read those letters once again, because as you rightly said, those letters are full of love. And as he rightly said, we are at home if we can serve any place. And the true home is a loving heart. So we take you in our loving heart, and thank you for taking us in your loving heart. Thank you, Sofia ji.
Thank you, Vikranji. It was again a pleasure to be connected with your organization and this dedication you have to humanity. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you, Sofia ji. Means a lot. Thank you for visiting.
We thank Ms. Sofia Strill Rever for her beautiful explanation. Thank you so much.